turbo kit myself, everything that was involved, parts, everything. I'm trying to cover all these questions I've been getting about just the car itself or the turbo kit on the small block Chevy. I will put the time for the turbo kit up right here. That way, if you're just interested in doing a turbo kit on a small block Chevy, you can just fast forward to that part. All right, so some of you may not know, this is a 1980 C3 Corvette. I got this car about 3 years ago when my first son was born. I really wasn't even looking at Corvettes. I really wasn't interested in them at all. I work at a small local mom and pop shop. It was my boss's car. It always sat over in the weeds ever since I worked there. And the story I was always told on this just had a bad motor. It was his wife's daily driver, and she quit driving it after the motor went, and he was going to get to it someday and just never got to it. So I went into work one day, and he had mentioned that someone was going to come look at it and potentially buy it, and he said he'd be happy to get $1,000 out of it. So I told him, I was like, man, I'll give you $1,000 for it. So I did. I bought it, and that's how I ended up with it. Like I said, I really wasn't even into them until after I got it. I'll be randomly putting pictures in the video of times I'm talking about the car. So for instance, here's when I found the car. This is exactly as it sat when I bought it. So right from the get-go on this car, I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I first talked about making it like this off-road car. It does hurt a lot of people's feelings that I did this to a C3 Corvette, and just right off the bat, there was like 40,000 of these things produced in 1980. It's not a rare car by any means. The car was in terrible shape when I got it, so I think it was a good candidate for what I ended up doing. So essentially when I got the car, I went out there with a battery, gas sat in it for 8 to 12 years, untouched. The car just sat there. I threw a battery in this thing, sprayed it with some carb clean, and the thing started up, and I drove it on the trailer. It had no brakes at all, and like I said in these pictures, it was rough. So I got it home. I figured out it had a bad camshaft. The exhaust lobe on number 8 was wiped. So when I bought the car, it came with another Chevy 350 4-bolt main. I have it still. That's the next motor to go in the car. But that motor had a Comp 292H cam in it, so I was like, man, I'm just going to try to build this thing as cheap as I humanly can. So we ended up taking the cam out of that motor, and that's the cam that is currently still in this car to this day. And it kind of just slowly progressed. I would find parts on Facebook Marketplace and buy them secondhand, buy them cheap. I mean, my rotors, calipers, brake pads, all that, it's all Lone Star stainless steel piston, O-ring sleeved, and all that. I think I paid $250 for all 4 calipers, drilled slotted rotors, pads, lines, everything. The guy gave me the receipt from Summit Racing. It was $1,200. So that's just kind of the whole theory behind the car. It was all secondhand stuff. I'm not going to go into a bind putting money in this thing. It's just a toy. So let's start going through, and I'll show you all the parts on it, what it took to build it, the color, why it's this color, the name of the car, kind of backstory. So right from the get-go, the car is called Gold Rush Green is the color. I had no intentions whatsoever painting this car when I got it. It was white. The car was wrecked previously, and it had that poly bumper on it. The bumper ended up shrinking, and it looked pretty bad. So I ended up buying a bumper. There's a guy out in Orlando called Fiberglass Mike. I bought a bumper off him. The bumper fit really good, but once again, the car was wrecked, so the bodywork of the car really wasn't up to par. So it took a lot of tweaking. I've never done fiberglass before, and it's not perfect. It's actually starting to crack here. I did a shitty job installing it, but it's all right. I'll redo it again someday. So I was gonna paint the car gray. I literally went to go order the gray paint, and I seen this color, so that's what I ended up with. I've actually never wet sanded, cut this thing, nothing, buffed it, and if you look into it really close, there's a lot of flake in it. So maybe this winter is one of my projects, get the car buffed and get it shining again. All right, so a lot of people ask about my headlights. I took the whole headlight assemblies out. So back in there, if you can see, there's an LED bar. And that's what I use as my headlights. I just wanted to keep it street legal. As far as turn signals and that, doesn't have them. Let me see if I can turn them on quick. Let me show you what they look like. So that's them at night. Honestly, I did single row bars just trying to hide them. They don't really fucking work, honestly. It's more just for legal purposes. As I said earlier, the car does have Lone Star calipers. They have stainless steel pistons. They're O-ringed, so anybody that's familiar with C3s, they're prone to leaking. It has drilled and slotted rotors. Wheels are Jag wheels. Tires, just some cheap tires. We got 165 80/15s up front, and those are on a 4.5-inch rim. These are, I don't even know, man. These are 295 50/15s. I believe these are on 10-inch rims, and I did have to run a damn wheel spacer because the rim hit the caliper, so that kind of sucked there. So as far as the name Sweet Honey Biscuit, it's kind of just like a going joke. There was a boat we always used to pass at a boat store when we'd go grocery shopping every week, and the boat's name was Honey Biscuit, and we would say it, and my son was probably 1.5, 2 years old at the time, so he'd always go, Honey Biscuit. So we always just said Sweet Honey Biscuit, and that's what I just rolled with this thing, so that's the meaning behind it. I did all the vinyl myself. I got the gold leaf right off Amazon. The black is just Oracle 651. As far as the drivetrain in the car, the transmission is 100% original, 100% stock. I haven't even put a clutch in this thing yet. It still grabs. If I launch it off the line, it does smoke the clutch a little bit, so I try to be kind of easy on it right off the line. Rear end is the original rear end. I've never done half shafts. The previous owner did say that he put U-joints in it at one point. That's it. Original tank is still in the car. The motor, the bottom end is original. Stock pistons, stock crank rods, all that. I haven't had it apart. I put some aluminum Pro Comp cylinder heads on it. Pro Comp, I believe, bought out by Speedmaster now. I could be wrong on that. A lot of people say don't run those heads because they have bad valves. You'll drop a valve, this and that. I'm running 7 PSI of boost through it. Haven't had a problem, and I have beat the snots out of this thing. I'm kind of waiting for it to blow up, and it just won't blow up, honestly. As far as the choppiness of the cam, I'll try to put a little video clip here of it before it was turboed, just to give an idea of what it actually sounds like. The cam is a Comp 292H. It's a flat tap cam. It's got Comp 1.5 ratio roller rockers in it. Nothing fancy at all. It's got a set of guide plates because of the heads. That's really it. It's got a dual plane Speedmaster intake off Amazon. I know with the turbo setup, I'd be better off with a single plane. With this being a manual transmission car and that cam, I just didn't have a lot of low end at all, so I went through the dual plane on it. And it did help out some, so I kind of had to give a little to get a little, but it makes it more streetable for me. The carburetor is a Holley 650 mechanical secondary. I have converted it to blow through. It's extremely easy to do. If you go to Hangar 18 Fab, they have all the instructions. I followed them. It's not expensive or anything like that to do the conversion. Anybody can do it. I didn't use any fancy tools or anything like that. It's got an Excel distributor, Excel wires, Excel plugs. Man, let's see what else is just the car. The radiator is just a cheap eBay aluminum radiator. Electric fans. These fans actually that are on it right now are burned up. And you've seen the last video. Kind of smoked those, so that kind of sucks. But It's just something we got to fix. The interior of the car, like I said, this kind of goes to show how long this car sat. If you look at the carpet, you can see where the floor mat was sitting for those 8 to 10 years in the exact same spot until I bought the car. I do have a gravel driveway, so that's why it's absolutely filthy inside. So as far as the interior goes, it's very simple. I got my boost gauge, my tack. This little button here is my 2-step. It's got the original 4-speed trans in it. And that's it. None of the gauges work. So that's cool. I do plan on ripping the dashboard out, putting an aluminum dash in this thing, and putting my aftermarket gauges, and I'm going to rewire the whole car, just with a whole car wiring kit. Get rid of all the crap I don't need. I don't have AC, heat, radio, anything like that anymore. This little switch here is just to kill my fuel pump. That way if I'm working on the car, I don't have to listen to the pump run. It's just got a 16-inch Kirky seat in it. I used the Kirky brackets, bolted them right to the floor. It's got a 5-point harness in it. I did make my own little harness bar here. Right from the factory, I just took these little side plastic panels out. And there was already a hole there. You can see it slotted. So what I did is I took a bar, I cut it to the exact width. I took 2 nuts, I welded the nuts inside the bar, and I just set the bar in there, bolted it on this side, bolted on that side, and there's my harness bar. It doesn't budge, so that's pretty cool. Saved me some money there. All right, so from this point on is all about the turbo setup on the car. I'll go through all the parts. Everything came from either eBay or Amazon. Very few parts came from eBay. I think I got the turbo itself off of eBay. Everything else essentially came from Amazon. As I talk through about it, I might pop in a picture here and there of like some modifications I had to do to the headers. I do have a buddy that has another C3, and he had a 406 small block in it. So he did the exact same setup. We kind of copied each other. He actually got me onto doing this to my car. So his car was an automatic. He didn't have to modify his headers at all. I had to modify mine because I have the Z-bar still in it. It's the original trans. So I had to modify the headers to clear the Z-bar. And like I said, I'll post a picture here of that. All right, so this is all on the turboed small block setup. So this is a GT45 turbo. Nothing fancy. I think it was like 250 bucks on eBay. The turbo headers I got off Amazon. I can put a picture here of what they looked like and what I had to do to modify those. They actually fit really good. I haven't really had any problems out of them. They've held up. They're stainless. I mean, obviously they're from China, but hey, they've been working out great. So that's essentially your starting point. You got to put the headers, turbo, and then start building your kit off of there. So as far as the oil feed for the turbo, some small blocks have this port right here on the front, and that's where I tap mine in, clean it up a lot. Otherwise, if you don't have that port, you're gonna have to run your oil line all the way back to the oil pressure port back there. That's where I have my gauge tapped in off of. I made it a lot easier by going up here, but not all small blocks have that. As far as the blow-off valve goes, just a cheap Amazon eBay blow-off valve. I think it's got like a 5-pound spring in it. The turbo hat came off a ProCharge truck, so that was free to me. The blow-off valve obviously had to be welded on there. I had a friend of a friend weld that up for me. Really nice guy, helped me out a ton. So once again, I didn't have to pay for that. That's the only thing that I haven't done to the car myself, was weld that. So as I said earlier in the video, the carb is a Holley 650 mechanical secondary. I did the blow-through conversion myself using the Hanger 18 fab instructions. It worked pretty good. It's fairly cheap. I haven't had any problems at 7 pounds of boost. So you can just look it up. Hanger 18 fab. It's all over Google. You'll see it. I did run in a little aluminum spacer here. That way my turbo hat would clear the float adjustment. Just a silicone 45 boot there. My fuel pressure regulator, just once again, Amazon cheap. It is boost reference, so you have to make sure you get a boost reference pressure regulator. For every pound of boost, you want to increase your fuel pressure 1 psi. The wastegate, same thing, just cheap Amazon one. I do have a tile 7-pound spring in it. That really puts it right perfect at 7 pounds on this car, so I don't have any boost creep or anything like that, so that's cool. So as far as the ventilation system on the car for the motor, I ended up doing a catch can. I did make a whole entire video on adding the catch can system to it. So I just have my 2 hoses right there. They run down to my can right there in the fender. It's kind of hard to see because I have shitty lighting. So as far as the motor goes, that's it. I mean, you'll have little things here and there that you got to do, but the only other huge hurdle was the fuel system, which I can show you that. I didn't build it how everybody said to build it. I built it and it's working perfectly fine for me. I also forgot to show my oil drain. I ran it right from the bottom of the turbo there, and I welded a -10 bung onto my fuel pump block-off plate. And so the oil just literally drains right into where the fuel pump used to be, right in the pan. No problems. As far as the fuel pump goes, it's once again Amazon cheap fuel pump. I ran -6 from the tank and then -6 all the way to the front of the car. I haven't had any fuel pump problems at all out of it. I do have a return in the system, so the return line, I use the old supply line inside the car. You can see here, I believe this is my supply line going directly to my electric pump. This is now my return line going from the old supply line going to the old return, and I just welded a bigger line into the top of the fuel pump there. That way it would flow better. All right, so I'll throw in a clip here of the car making a little pull. I do run 7 pounds, completely stock bottom end. I haven't had any problems at all out of it. It's been great, honestly. Like I said earlier in the video too, if you skip forward, I do have another motor for this thing that I'm gonna build for boost. So I've kind of just been beating the piss out of this thing, trying to blow it up, and it just won't die. So I would honestly have no problem putting a turbo at 7 pounds through a weekend warrior car, or I don't know if I'd say a daily driver, but it's been a really good car. I have something in the works coming, hopefully for another turbo build on another car I have laying around. So if that all pans out the way I want it to, hopefully that'll be coming to the YouTube channel. So that's really it on the car. I covered the car, covered the turbo kit, and kind of the motor. I'm sure I missed a bunch of stuff. If you guys have any questions at all, like seriously, leave a comment, message me directly if you're seeing this on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. I'll get back to you for sure. I'll help anybody out. I have no problems with that. It is tough finding a lot of this info on like a lower boost small block, or more stock small block, I guess you could say. There's guys going really, really fast with small block Chevys and turbo. They're a fun little setup if you do them right. It's really cool learning about it. I didn't have anybody to teach me this. I did all this research online just on my own time, and I'd come out here at night, tinker with it. It took me probably 2 months to build the whole turbo setup and put the car in its form right now. But it's been fun. I really, really like the car, and I don't think I'll ever sell it. It's been through a lot with me, so we're gonna keep it around for a long time. Hopefully one of my sons will take it one day and keep it, and maybe one day they'll be watching this video and see this. I mean, that's all I really can hope for. But I appreciate you guys watching. Like I said, any questions at all, feel free to ask it, message me directly. I don't care. I'll help anybody out on anything on these things. So I do appreciate you tuning in. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you want, subscribe. I'll have more about the car coming. Also, if you guys see anything specifically you want to know more about, I can make a video just for that, or I can help you through it. Like I said, thanks again, guys.